Okay, hi everybody. So now we are on to episode 8. There are 2 episodes left after this one. So let's get into it. So yes, we find out that Joe has been keeping Marianne in the glass cage like he does with literally all of the women in his life.
You can't have a season without it.
Yes. And but Joe still doesn't know that. He still doesn't know that he has her in a cage. So then it flashes back to when Marianne is getting onto the train and Joe snatches her locket. But also his alter ego is now assumed to be Reese.
Right.
Because Reese knows all of these bad things he's done and Joe has no recollection.
And Reese in the Men in Black coat and tie,
It's kind of like his
ghost or something, or
no, what is it called? His conscience.
Conscience, right. And what I love about it is when we see that flashback to the train, we've got a coffee cup and he's got a little dropper. Doop, doop. So he drugged her when she got on the train. So then I'm assuming he kidnapped her.
Yes. So we were also discussing, like, why has Joe been keeping this from us? Because usually in the shows, he tells the audience everything he's ever done.
Exactly.
But it's because Joe himself didn't even know.
Right. And that's what I love about this. And I guess, I mean, anyone out there who loves twists like this is going to love this show. Because, you're expecting, okay, the same thing, he's going to escape, same thing. No. They really flipped the script here. And now he doesn't even know what he's done, which I think is great because when you think about what he's been through and all the things he's done in his life, that it would make sense that he had 2 personalities now.
Yeah.
That those 2 personalities are in conflict with each other. So when he is himself, Joe, or I guess not, whatever name he thinks he is at the time, I guess Jonathan, that's when Reese shows up now. And Reese is telling him, hey, mate, you did all these things, and hey, you know where she is, and you got to figure it out. You got Marianne. And he's like, I don't have any memory of this. What are you talking about?
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's he now has 2 personalities, which, I mean, I think we always thought he had 2 personalities, but now it's so enhanced that Joe doesn't even remember doing the stuff that he did.
So Joe has his fake friend where when he's talking to somebody and you hear his inner dialogue saying, yeah, whatever, dude. He always says something to counter it. But that has become real now, where he's got
a split personality.
Like we were wondering what he said to Phoebe. Now it connects back with the episode 1 where Phoebe says, you said some wonderful things to me that night. Wait, what? I did? He thought he was drugged up, drunk, whatever. No, it was his other. It was Mr. Hyde was saying that. And then they start showing scenes now with Reese. This is from this part, right? Where we think he's talking to Reese. Like there's a part where they cut to he's turned talking to somebody in a chair, but there's nobody there. And other people saw him say it, but this figure he's drunk, high, whatever. And then there's other scenes where we go, oh my gosh, you're right. So it's kind of like
anytime he ever interacted with Reese, it's only been one-on-one situations.
Yeah, but there's a group, like they were at the manor. No, they were at some dinner and Reese was there, but Reese never got involved. It's kind of like, what's that? Sixth Sense.
Yes.
Where there's somebody dead. I see dead people. And so only he could see them. And now it's revealed that that person really isn't there. But it's great because they run through all the scenarios that he saw Reese in the past. And now we understand, it puts the story together. And that's what I love about this, when it makes you think about, and in more of a, more deeper thought was put into this script, into this season than in other seasons. And I love that because I figured, no, they can't. Where can they take the story after all this? This is great.
Yeah. So, so he drugs Marianne. It's not clear how he got her off the train.
No, I'm assuming he put her in a box because there's a box in the.
Okay, but he was carrying that box with him.
Well, it had wheels.
Station.
We don't know, but we know
that's what I'm saying. It's unclear.
Yeah.
So she wakes up zip tied to a chair, in this undisclosed location, and. Joe is like, I want to fix our relationship. I want us to be together. I want us to work this out. And she's like, what is going on? Why am I here? What are we doing? You said you were going to let me go. And it's increasingly clear that he is completely disassociating
Oh yeah.
Because she is trying to get his attention, and he's just watching this video of Reese,
Oh yeah.
just
That's right.
his day-to-day life, and is just over analyzing it. And she's like, Joe, 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 don't ignore me.
Just like what I'm doing. He's staring straight ahead the whole time like this.
Yeah.
Or staring at the screen. And she's talking to him. And then finally, when Reese stops talking on the screen, he goes.
And then he's like, oh, you know Reese Montrose? And like doesn't
Yeah.
acknowledge anything she just said.
In this location, it's not this basement area yet. It's some kind of apartment or something. And he's been drugging her with, like, it gives her a little cup of water, and she realizes that she's drug, and then he is putting her in a box every time.
Yeah.
So that's why I assumed he put her. But I would love to see how on a train. She's asleep, and he's going to carry her somewhere and put her in a box. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I know her. I'm just going to carry her to the.
Yeah, she's
I'm
not
gonna put her
feeling
in my
well.
luggage. It's no big deal. I have no idea. So anyway.
So
go ahead.
like
Yeah, we'll finish that
days and
scene.
days, weeks and weeks go by, and it's just this constant cycle of him bringing her food, her in the chair, and then him drugging her, her passing out, her waking up. Just the same cycle over and over and over. And then he is going to move her somewhere. And he tells her that he's going to move her somewhere. So then she doesn't drink the Kool-Aid. She puts it into a pot behind
it was
her.
perfect timing when he was out, and then she goes, whoop.
Yeah, and pretends like she drank it.
And she's being nice, too.
Yeah. And then he is carrying her down to where he's assembled the box. And she is pretending to be, sedated. And then all of a sudden she breaks free from his grasp and then grabs a hammer and is trying to fight him off so she can escape. And then he ends up pushing her down and breaking her arm.
Yeah, she lands on a concrete floor, crunch.
Yeah.
It's not good.
And then so she breaks her arm and he gets her into the box, and now she is completely trapped. And then she goes, so this is the thing I think she did to compartmentalize with what's happening to her. So she is making this storybook.
Right, that she's telling her daughter.
It's just a story she's telling her daughter to keep her from going insane. And so again,
Which is beautiful. She did it. I mean, it's really a nice part.
it is. It's the nightingale and
I can't remember the rest
he's
of it.
the fox.
Yeah,
though.
Nightingale and the Fox, I think. And then, but what's really sweet is I think it's the episode. I think starts this way. Her telling the story like she's trying to tell a fairy tale to her daughter. And mommy, how does she get away? And all these different things. Oh, don't worry, it'll be okay. But we at first were thinking, how did she get home? And now we understand it's a connection to the story, how she's compartmentalizing, like Haley said, to try to. I mean, I can't imagine what's coming next.
Yeah,
is scary.
So again, it's the cycle of giving the food.
She's in the box.
She's in the box. It's the cycle of giving the food and then leaving, and then giving the food and then leaving, and then she.
And her arm is messed up.
It's
I mean,
really bad. It's
not,
a bad break.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not through the skin, but it's completely swollen and bruised.
Right. And I was thinking, what if she did need the bone set? Which I think would have made an interesting part where he'd have to get in there and do something. But her arm is messed up. Then she's in there. He's providing food. She's begging to get out. And Joe is, or I guess we could say Jonathan Joe. Or when he's Reese, he is just so
deadpan.
Yeah. I mean, he's got this dead stare.
Yeah,
he doesn't, it's like he has no feelings or anything.
She's trying to coerce him to have a conversation with her, and he puts his hand up on the glass, and so she thinks that it's working, that she's making a connection with him. And then he ends up rubbing a spot off the glass and then just leaving.
Which I thought was like, oh man, yeah. So
and
much for a
then a
connection.
couple more days go by, and he gives her drugs.
Yeah, and so as you know, she is a drug addict, recovering. Yeah, and so he gives her opioids. And puts it in the little lock case that you close the door here, and then you can open the other side, only one side at a time. And she sees that, and she's like, I can't take those. I'm a recovering drug addict. I can't do that.
But he doesn't know.
Right. He doesn't remember that. It's weird. It's like he only
went there as Reese because Reese was the only one that remembered that she was there.
Right.
He never went as Joe.
So he's bringing her this food constantly, and they show, I mean, what's a good part of the episode, you'll see like food containers stacked in there. She's just got so much stuff And so she's been there for weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe months at this point. It's probably months. And she's like, it really hurts, but I'm not going to take the drugs. And then, Reese, we go back to Reese and Joe trying to figure out
Where she is.
So he's like, you're getting, that's later on when he said getting warmer stuff, but I can't remember exactly what happens next year. Because did Nadia get involved at this point again?
Yes. So then it cuts back to Nadia discovering Marianne in the cage, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I have to help you. Like, what did he do to you? I need to get you out of here." But there's a key code on the door,
Right?
And Marianne tells Nadia, like, don't press anything on there because it will notify him that you press a button. And so she's like, okay, so what do I do?
I'll go to the
She's like,
police
I'll call
then.
the police. And then again, Marianne is like, no, we can't involve the police because he always gets off no matter what.
And the thing is, as Nadia, I would be like, what are you talking about? Okay, look, you would be safe. But she said, but I've got a daughter. We don't know if she's got her. We don't know what's going on. And I got to say, Marianne is right that he gets away with it every time. There's always some way he does it. So they're concocting a plan at this point, which we don't know about.
Yeah. So no cops, no getting out for Marianne. But then Nadia gives her some food and water. And at that point, I think it was like her last day. Like she hadn't eaten or drank anything that day.
So once Reese...
She had completely run out of food and water.
Once Jonathan kills Reese, from that point on, he doesn't know, they don't know, he doesn't know where she is. So there's no food, no water, anything for days. We don't even know how long it's been, but long enough where it could risk her life. Her life's in danger here. When Nadia's there, she gives her some like biscuit she had and some water, but they immediately take that back so that if Reese... Joe, whatever we're calling him.
Definitely now. Reese, because Joe doesn't know.
Once Reese shows up and sees that, he'll know something's up. So we don't. So she said, "Hey, we'll figure this out. I'll be back." And she's like, "Don't leave," but I've got to leave because what if he walks in at any minute here? And then they said something like, "Look for my phone, but you can't use the phone because."
No. And then
this is good.
Marianne is like, "Listen, this is something we can do. You come or you knock him out. You give me a knife. There's something about ketamine.
Right, that's what her boyfriend Edward could get.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm not sure why. Newspaper must be his mom works with.
Yeah,
with
I don't know. He can just get some.
Yeah.
I don't know. So we don't really know what plan they're hatching.
It's not clear, but it's something to do with drugs and a knife.
Yeah. So then Nadia's like, of course, I'll get everything I need and I'll come back tomorrow. And so Marianne's like, okay, awesome. Like, I'll see you tomorrow. And then it cuts back to Joe and Reese talking about where he can find her. And Joe has torn apart his entire apartment.
Oh, yeah. He's got it the whole place.
Yeah. And he gets a call from Kate. And
but before that, I just love what Reese says. He goes, "Like what you done with the place, mate."
Yeah, and he's like, you ain't getting that scary to pulls it back.
Before we get to Kate, it's so funny because Reese is this... He's always picking on Joe, whatever he's doing. He said, "Mate, that's not going to work. What are you doing?" It's just so funny. It's like this sarcastic, I know something you don't know.
From Kate, and she's freaking out because the engagement party that they got invited to, it turns out it's the wedding of Phoebe and Adam. And
I got to tell you, I'm like, you got to be kidding.
Yeah. Phoebe is not okay. She's not okay in any sort of way, in any fashion of any sort.
And Kate gets her
Adam
side.
is completely taking advantage of her during this time.
They're at, she's getting her wedding dress on, and I remember she's outside, and Kate comes to talk to her, and I was saying to you, it's like, she's drugged up. There's no way that she's doing this without some kind of drug to keep her focused or whatever.
Yeah.
So we find out, well, we don't know that till later, but the thing is, Kate is trying to convince her.
The day prior, she is getting her wedding dress fitted, and Kate, so Adam has been keeping communication silent from Kate, and Phoebe thinks that she's been, avoiding her.
Yeah.
Which is not true at all. It's just Adam has been intercepting every one of Kate's messages and not giving them to her.
And Kate doesn't bother with that. She skips right over, gets to the point.
Yeah. And so she's like, don't marry him. It's not, you're not okay. Let's go. So at the I think in the last episode, she wants Phoebe to go get psychiatric help, and then Adam steps in, and then again, Adam steps in and is like, well, you've made Phoebe upset. You need to leave. And so they get up and they walk away. And then
he's looking back at her too, like,
yeah.
Like, what do you think you're doing? And it's not your damn business.
So Kate calls Joe, and she's like, so this engagement party we got invited to is actually their wedding. So Reese kind of coerces him over to this shelf where he finds the Jekyll and Hyde book.
He said, getting warmer.
Yeah, and then he sees the key, and he's like, okay, so that's the first clue. And so obviously Nadia snuck back in and put the key back.
And then he notices the book too, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, he's like, wow, okay. No nuance there.
Yeah, no nuance there at all. That's what Reese says, I think. He says, no nuances there, mate.
Yeah, so then he... So then he finds the key, and then it's this kind of the same thing that Nadia does. So Nadia is already there. So she's in the basement of that building talking to Marianne about their plan, and then, or she brings her more food or something like that. And then Joe finds where he's been keeping her and goes down there, and so Nadia hides behind this wall while they're having a conversation, Joe and Marianne, and now he is completely lucid. And is like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know why I would do this. I'll get you out of here, I promise. Gives her some food. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to figure it out. I'll be back later, because he has to go to the engagement party.
Right.
Because Reese is talking in his ear and is like, you don't want to miss something. Like,
Something's
Reese has just
mate.
been murdered. You don't want to not be somewhere.
Yeah.
And then, so he goes to the engagement party with Kate, and then Kate and him hatch this plan to try and get Phoebe and Adam to not
get married.
Yeah. And so Kate is going to go distract Adam, and then Joe is going to go talk to Phoebe. And it seems like Joe and Phoebe are getting somewhere. And
guess who shows
up? Adam comes into the room with Kate and completely destroys all of the
any progress he made.
Any progress that he made.
It just sucks.
We feel helpless in this situation. I mean, I'm sure Joe and Kate do too, like helpless, and there's no getting through to Phoebe in any sense.
Yeah, and it's so sad because then the wedding goes through, and immediately she's regretting it. She runs off.
Yeah.
And like strips off her dress in the elevator and runs away, and
then is going through a manic episode. And
doesn't she?
She runs through the streets. We find out this later, but she's like running through the streets like completely not herself.
Yeah. And
is in a dazed state and gets checked into a psychiatric facility, which she should have been checked into a long time ago.
Oh, yeah. But when we were there, that's right. Okay. So when Kate is talking to her before the wedding, she's surrounded by drugs. I mean, we're talking about prescription drugs, cocaine, all kinds of stuff is everywhere. So she is zonked on this stuff. And you're getting married high or numbed or whatever. And yeah, she clearly is not in a good place to get the marriage. Obviously, we know that. End of the episode 8, it's kind of in mayhem with Phoebe and Adam. Adam, we don't know where he is. I mean, he doesn't seem to be caring.
No, he is completely unbothered that Phoebe is having an episode.
He doesn't. I mean, it's like, come on, it's your wife, dude. Do something. She's gone. As she's running in the streets, and it leaves everybody kind of hanging there. Episode 8, done.
Yeah. Oh, and then I think no. So also Joe is hatching a plan for him to escape as well. For him to leave the country.
Right.
Because he's going to let Marianne go and doesn't want any blowback from that.
Right. So he's trying to figure out how he can.
So he's trying to do his thing he always does, where he gets a fake passport and goes and starts a new life. So then him and
Reese
Kate,
is picking on him over it.
Yes, and he's like, "You're gonna run away? Like, just finish the job. Like, if you killed all these people, then you're gonna be out. Like, you're gonna be able to go on with your life."
Yeah. So he's searching a website for Beanie Babies or something, which is some code word for
a fake passport.
Fake passports or something.
So then he's walking Kate home from the party, and he's like, he's kind of hinting at, like, this is the last time I'm going to see you, but is trying not to let her catch on to that. And
it's honestly very romantic and sweet.
Yeah.
They're walking slowly down the street, and in his head, he's like, this is the last time I'm going to see her. And it was very sweet kind of ending to the episode, really.
Yeah. So yeah, that wraps up, I think.
Yeah, and then we've got so much more coming in 9 and 10.
Yeah.
You will not believe it. So see ya for 9 and 10.
Thanks for watching and listening, guys. We're very excited to discuss episode 9 and 10, the ending of season 4. So, signing out.
Signing out.